Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Gordon Chang, Gordon G. Chang on Twitter. Gordo, I only wanted to talk to you last week. You were so busy. President Trump's trip to China, home run for America, or you wanted to see more?
Well, right now we just don't know, Sid, because, normally Sino-U.S. Summits are all planned in advance. Everything's decided before the foreign leader wheels up. This one, President Trump gets a lot of credit for going toe-to-toe with Xi Jinping on enemy soil. I know that a lot of people have scored it in favor of China, and I can see why they say that, but I think those assessments are premature. So for instance, we saw Xi Jinping say some very, very arrogant things, mentioning New Era, Thucydides' trap. President Trump showed restraint, and I think that restraint was the better response for him. And eventually Trump's going to get back at Xi Jinping for trying to humiliate not only President Trump, but the United States, because this will not go unanswered. So people see this and they say that Trump didn't respond, and so therefore they think Xi Jinping's in control. But no, that's not the case at all.
It's interesting because the last time Obama went to China, because Biden didn't go, he had Xi here in San Francisco. Obama arrived in China like nobody was there. Nobody cared. Trump showed up. They had the red carpet. They had state banquets. They treated Trump like the man that he is, the greatest leader in the world today. So right off the bat, they treated Trump with a lot of respect. But there were some times, like you said, Taiwan, for example. China got very, very tough with Taiwan. But President Trump didn't back down there either. In fact, he even said, if I have to, I'll supply the Taiwanese with weapons. So, and even with Iran, where Xi promised some things that he's never going to do. I'm not exactly sure where people saw Xi have an advantage. He remained tough on a couple of items. Xi did. I'll give him credit for that. But in none of those situations did President Trump back down. Not that I can remember.
That's right. Trump did not back down. He did not make concessions. And he played the quiet role here. And I think that showed self-confidence. I think Xi Jinping really tried to go out to give Trump a hard time. And he did that in a number of different ways, not only with those statements on Thursday, but on the second day, those two chairs at Zhongnanhai, Xi Jinping's was higher and Trump's was lower.
Yeah.
So, just Xi Jinping was playing silly games. And that's really the sign of an insecure leader. And China has a lot of reasons to be insecure, largely because their country is falling apart beneath Xi Jinping. We're seeing in the last couple hours, we saw some very distressing numbers out of their economy. That continues a long trend. We know the Chinese people are either angry or resigned to what's going on. And also, there's this demography that China is going through the biggest demographic collapse in history. Trump knows all that and decides not to press the advantage, at least on the outside. But Trump he did get a lot of concessions from China, and people aren't properly scoring it for that reason. As I said, we won't know for quite some time how this all really came out, but I think that when it does, it'll show that Trump got the upper hand.
I think so, too. Of course, I'm biased for Trump, so you can't trust a word that I say. But I got to tell you this, G, you can't trust him. It's a joke. When I say, people will tell me on the show, Xi said this. What do I care what he said? You can't trust him. On one hand, at the state banquet, he'll say all these nice things about Trump, and then he'll warn Trump, don't mess with Taiwan. Then he'll tell Trump, we'll help you with Iran. And then 10 minutes later, he'll send a whole bunch of weapons through the Caspian Sea. It's like Putin. Same exact thing. Putin's on the phone with Trump. Trump says, Vlad, I love you. I love you too. Can you stop bombing Ukraine, please? Sure. 10 minutes later, Putin drops a bomb. All these guys, whether it's Xi in China or Putin in Russia or Rocket Man in North Korea, you can't trust any of them. It doesn't matter what they say to Trump, what they say to the media. They are still our adversaries. And in the end, they're worried about their own asses, not ours.
Absolutely. And I would say they're enemies in the case of Xi Jinping, because that's what his regime calls us. So I think that we do need to return the favor. And Xi Jinping doesn't adhere to his promises. In the middle of April, Xi Jinping told President Trump that they wouldn't be sending weapons to Iran, that they haven't sent weapons to Iran. And now, we hear the same promise at the summit. But as you point out, in the interim, China was sending weapons to Iran. They were doing that through various routes, including sending their military transports, turning off their transponders and landing dark in Iran. Well, military transports usually carry military equipment. So, there's a problem there. And Trump knows that, and I'm sure that Trump is one way or another going to deal with it. But on the other hand, as our president said before he left for Beijing, I don't need China's help on Iran. And that's true. Chinese have been basically bystanders, except for some sly maneuvers of sending weapons. But probably they have not had a major difference, those weapons.
Listen, Trump's a real smart guy. He was on with me for 45 minutes last Tuesday. He mentioned China, the trip, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And Iran, it's all great. I don't think he went there with any real expectations, Gordon. And you're smarter than me with this, Gordon Chang. With any real expectations that China was going to help us in the war. That's why he said we don't need them, because he knew they weren't going to help us. I think this trip was based on a nice photo op between the two countries, and more importantly, business. Right? He took 20 CEOs. I heard day one, NVIDIA already did 10 different deals supplying chips to Chinese businesses. And he had the Boeing guy there, and he had Elon Musk there. And I don't know how many of those guys actually got deals done, but at the very least, some of those guys, the less high-profile guys, like Wang, for example, from NVIDIA, they had a chance to meet some of these Chinese businessmen, which I think will go a long way in the future. So for me, this deal was always about American business in China, and to a certain extent, Chinese business in America. And on that front, I think Trump did well.
Yeah, I mean, we sold 200 planes. Now, those sales have got to be documented, but I do believe the Chinese will adhere to that promise. I'm not crazy about more Chinese investment in the U.S. because those factories are bases of subversion, and we're already being overwhelmed by the Chinese in our country.
Why can't we stop that? But why can't we stop that? I mean, we know this already. Just about everything they buy here and do here comes with a camera. Right? It comes with the real possibility that they're spying on us. Why don't we just stop that?
I think that we absolutely should, because we know that it's going on. Take the issue of Chinese students spying. Now, we also know that the Chinese consular officials and Ministry of State Security agents monitor, coerce, and surveil Chinese students. If we get those diplomats out of the scene, if we get those agents out of our country, then, we've got a decent chance of having a good relationship with Chinese students. But, this is now on us, and it's been on us for quite some time because we've known about this for a very long time, Sid. So, yes, it is our responsibility now because, by the way, it's our country.
Right. Last I checked, right? 2 more. No, you got something to do at 9 o'clock. I'll let you run. Iran is also crazy. I mean, they're blowing up other Arab countries that were on Iran's side before Epic Fury. And now they're not because Iran just dropping bombs everywhere. And what they take out now, 2 Chinese vessels? Do they not understand, no matter what she said to Trump last week? It's all nonsense. The Chinese still favor Iran over America, and she will still help them. So if you're Iran, why would you start blowing up Chinese vessels when they're about your last hope?
Yeah, that to me doesn't make sense. The only way I can make sense of this is that China put Iran up to it so that Xi Jinping could look like an honest broker. But that's just a wild speculation. That's the only thing that makes sense to me right now because, as you point out, Iran hitting Chinese ships is completely insane.
Unless they're just, so whacked out and paranoid, they're just, I don't know, they're just shooting all over the place. And, I expect that this thing's going to start up again on Wednesday or Thursday, and that's going to put the people that I care about, the Israelis, in serious danger because, as you know, Iran's not going to hit Staten Island. They're not going to hit Cincinnati. They're going to hit Tel Aviv again. My daughter's supposed to go June 1st. I'm supposed to go for a week and a half, June 18th. Not that I'm worried about us necessarily, but once Trump hits them on Wednesday or Thursday, the next city to get hit is going to be in Israel.
Yes, it will. And there's some things that Trump can do which will just require a minimal use of force, but which will be extremely effective. One of them is to declare a no-fly zone over Iran. That involves no force. And the other is to just sever those rail links that Iran is using to send oil to China. It's a pretty inefficient way of doing that, but at least they're getting a little bit of money, so we should cut off all of Iran's links with the outside. And that's a pretty minor operation. Now, I don't know what President Trump's going to do. I mean, he could take out a lot of infrastructure. We'll just have to wait and see. But, you're absolutely right. This is coming down the road. And by the way, China is a bystander.
Yeah, at the very least. They may be more than that. I think they're on the other team. All right, so...
well, they are on the other team, but they can't do very much because we've got the power, and the Chinese... they're being chased out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
They're being chased out of the Western Hemisphere.
True.
And you got to thank Trump for that.
You're right. So in the final 60 seconds, Gordon Chang, follow him at Gordon G. Chang. I love you. I know Trump still loves you, too. I know you guys have a little back and forth, but he loves you. Give me what you want to see. You said, we're not going to know for a while here. What has to happen when we do find out? What do you want to hear that says that this was absolutely a successful trip for Trump?
Yeah, a couple things. One of them is I'd like to see Pastor Ezra Jin freed. Trump said that probably would happen. I'd like to see Jimmy Lai freed. Trump said that's probably not going to happen. And the other thing is I'd like to see the administration go ahead with that $14 billion arms sale to Taiwan. The Chinese right now are not in no position to invade Taiwan. It's the perfect time to sell arms. That enhances deterrence, and it also encourages our friends. And I think the Trump administration will indeed authorize that sale. So out of those three things, probably two of them will occur.
And if they do, we win, right?
Well, yeah, and I think what it is right now, because we haven't really made any concessions, I think we're probably a little bit above water. We'll see. But I think that this is going to be scored a Trump victory. And by the way, I think historians for decades are going to look at this summit as just pivotal.
I agree with you. Gordon, you're terrific. You really are great. You know that. I think you're great. So thank you for hopping on today. I was looking forward to this conversation. As always, you did not disappoint. And we'll do it again very soon, Gordon Chang. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Sid. And I really appreciate it.
Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Very Hawks baseball.
Tuesday, May 19th at 10:30 a.m., it's morning baseball. Wednesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m., have a pawsome time at Bark in the Park. Thursday, May 21st at 6:30, it's Pride Night with $5 Bud or Bud Light draft beer. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit VeryHawks.com now to lock in your seats.